Right, let's do it. Blockchain, right? Everybody's talking about it,
Yeah.
but how many people actually get it?
Right. That's the question.
By the end of this deep dive, you will. Like, forget head scratching when Bitcoin comes up or NFTs.
Yeah, it's funny how something can be everywhere but still so mysterious.
Exactly. And the crazy thing is, we're basing this on a series about actually building blockchain projects.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, but don't worry, no coding boot camp here.
Okay, good.
We're cutting straight to the chase. Like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
And why should we care?
It really boils down to a few key ideas. Once you get those, it all kind of clicks.
Okay, so sell me. What's the elevator pitch for blockchain?
Imagine this. You can never lose a receipt, ever again. Or every agreement you make is like automatically enforced with no way to cheat.
Okay, that's a world I want to live in, but how do we get there?
Blockchain.
Yeah.
It's basically a digital record of transactions, like a super ledger.
Okay, so like my bank statements, but fancier.
Kinda, but instead of one bank holding all the cards, everyone on the network gets a copy.
Wait, so not just me seeing my transactions, but everyone seeing everyone's transactions?
Well, not necessarily every detail, but the core information, yeah. And that's the genius part.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but why is that so groundbreaking?
It's practically tamper-proof. Think about it. To cheat, you'd have to hack every single computer on the network. Good luck with that.
Right, like a global game of whack-a-mole, except the moles are supercomputers.
Exactly. This source material had a great analogy. Imagine like 4 companies, north, south, east, west, all doing business together.
Okay, I'm following.
Each one keeps their own records, but no central truth, right? So what happens when things don't match up?
Uh-oh, sounds like a headache waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Arguments, lawsuits, who knows what.
Bingo. Now with blockchain, they all have the same record, constantly updated.
So no more he said, she said, or lost paperwork. Everyone's on the same page, literally.
Exactly. It's the single source of truth, cutting out so much confusion and potential for, well, messing around.
Okay, I see the appeal, but how does blockchain actually do that? Like, what's the magic behind it?
It's not magic, it's cryptography. Every block of transactions is chained to the one before it using a thing called a hash.
A hash, like the pound sign, like on social media.
No, not that kind. Think of it as a digital fingerprint unique to that block's data. Change even a tiny bit of the data and boom, the hash changes completely.
So any funny business, and the whole chain's messed up. Everyone knows something's wrong.
Exactly. It's this constant cross-checking, making sure all copies across the network match perfectly.
Okay, so we've got this super secure, transparent record-keeping system, but like, why should I care? How does this impact me?
Think about it. Supply chains, knowing exactly where your food comes from, voting systems, making sure elections are fair, even just proving you are who you say you are online.
Okay, I'm starting to see the possibilities here. It's like, if the internet was about access to information, blockchain is about trusting that information.
That's a great way to put it. And here's something else to wrap your head around. Not all blockchains are created equal.
Oh, so there are different flavors of blockchain.
In a way, it's like choosing a vehicle, right? Truck, minivan, sports car. Each has its purpose.
Okay, I like where this is going. Break it down for me. What are the blockchain options?
We've got public blockchains, open to anyone, like Bitcoin. Anyone can join the party.
So it's like the open internet of transactions.
Precisely. Then you've got private blockchains, more like a company's internal network, permission only.
Ah, so like behind closed doors for sensitive stuff?
Yep. And then we have hybrids, kind of the best of both worlds, public and private aspects combined.
Okay, so like a house with a front yard and a backyard, public and private spaces.
I like that. And finally, consortium blockchains, governed by a specific group, like team effort between companies.
Ah, so like a joint venture, everyone has a say in the rules.
Exactly. And which one's best? Depends on what you're trying to achieve, just like with any tool.
Okay, so we've got this whole blockchain toolbox, each one for a different job.
Precisely. And believe me, there's a job for pretty much everything you can imagine, and some you haven't even thought of yet.
All right, so we've just scratched the surface here, but I'm already seeing the potential.
Oh, we're just getting started. But before we move on to real-world examples, I want to leave you with a thought.
Oh, I like where this is going.
If you could use blockchain for anything in your life, what would it be? What problem would it solve?
Good question. So we've laid the groundwork, but now I want to get into the nitty-gritty. Like, how is blockchain actually changing things out in the real world?
Well, it's important to remember that blockchain isn't a magic bullet.
Right, no silver bullets.
It has its limitations, just like any technology.
So let's talk about those limitations. What are some of the challenges that come with implementing blockchain?
One of the big ones is scalability, especially with public blockchains. As the network grows and more transactions are happening,
It gets kind of crowded.
yeah, it can get bogged down, processing slows down, costs go up.
So like rush hour traffic, but for data.
Exactly. And then there's the energy consumption issue.
Oh, right. I've heard about that, especially with Bitcoin.
Yeah. Those proof-of-work blockchains, they require a lot of computing power, which translates to a lot of energy use.
Not very eco-friendly.
Not ideal, but there are alternatives like proof-of-stake systems. Those are designed to be way more efficient.
Okay, so there's hope for a greener blockchain future.
Absolutely. And then there's security. We talked about the blockchain itself being tamper-proof, but
But nothing's perfect, right?
right, the ecosystem around it can be vulnerable. Exchanges, wallets, those are often targets for hackers.
So it's like having Fort Knox, but leaving the key under the mat.
Kinda. And then, of course, there's regulation. Governments are still trying to figure out how to handle this whole blockchain thing.
Yeah, it's a whole new world for them.
Exactly. This lack of clear guidelines can create uncertainty for businesses and investors.
Okay, so some growing pains to work through, but the potential benefits seem huge. Can you give me some concrete examples of how blockchain is already making a difference?
Sure. Supply chains, for instance. Imagine being able to track your coffee beans from the farm all the way to your cup.
Oh, wow. So I can actually see where my coffee came from every step of the way.
Exactly. And know it's ethically sourced, no shady business.
No more mystery beans.
Plus, no counterfeiting. That record on the blockchain, it's irrefutable.
That level of transparency would be amazing for so many industries. What about voting? Could blockchain make elections more secure?
It definitely has the potential. Imagine each vote as a transaction on a blockchain.
Unchangeable permanent record.
Yep. Tampering with the results would be nearly impossible.
So no more hanging chads or recounts that drag on forever.
Potentially. Of course, other challenges exist. Voter privacy, preventing different types of fraud.
Right, it's not a cure-all.
But it's a powerful tool for making elections more trustworthy.
Okay, so from coffee to democracy, blockchain's reach is pretty impressive. But what about everyday stuff? Can it impact my personal life?
Absolutely. Think about digital identity. Instead of a million usernames and passwords, you have one secure identity stored on a blockchain.
Wait, so no more forgetting passwords?
Potentially. You could use this blockchain ID to access online services, prove your age, even streamline financial transactions.
It's like a digital passport, verifying who I am and what I can do.
Exactly. And way more secure than traditional methods.
Okay, all this talk about blockchain is getting me thinking about the future. What's on the horizon? What are some of the most exciting developments we might see down the road?
One area that's really taking off is decentralized applications, or dApps.
Apps. I've heard that term. Remind me.
Think of them as apps that run on a blockchain network, not on a central server controlled by one company.
So not like Facebook or Google calling all the shots.
Right. Much more resistant to censorship and control.
Okay, that sounds pretty revolutionary. What kind of dApps are out there?
All sorts. Social media platforms, marketplaces, even gaming. Imagine a social network where you truly own your data, or a marketplace where every transaction is secure and transparent.
Wow, it's like a whole new internet is emerging.
It is. And then there are NFTs.
Oh yeah, NFTs. Those were all the rage a while back. Are they still a thing?
They are, and they're more than just digital art or collectibles.
I admit that's mostly what I associated them with.
NFTs can represent ownership of any unique digital asset, music, videos, virtual real estate.
So it's like having a digital deed for a virtual item.
Exactly. And because it's on a blockchain, that ownership is verifiable and secure, impossible to counterfeit.
That opens up a lot of possibilities for creators and collectors.
For sure. We're just scratching the surface of what NFTs can do.
Okay, I'm officially mind blown. All this is super fascinating, but let's bring it back down to earth for a second. For someone who's new to all this, what are some easy ways to learn more or even get involved?
Honestly, one of the best things about blockchain is how accessible it is.
You don't need to be a tech whiz to understand it.
Not at all. There are tons of free resources online, articles, videos, even full-blown courses. Start with some beginner-friendly stuff, get a basic understanding.
So take the first step, dive in.
Exactly. And if you want to get hands-on, set up a cryptocurrency wallet.
Like a digital piggy bank for my Bitcoin.
Kinda. There are different types, from simple phone apps to more secure hardware wallets.
Good to know. What about actually contributing to blockchain development?
If you have coding skills, there are open source projects you can join, a great way to learn and be part of the community.
So you could potentially work on the next big blockchain innovation.
Absolutely. And there are tons of blockchain startups and companies looking for talented people.
Okay, so there's a place for everyone at the blockchain table, from curious beginners to coding wizards.
Exactly. But before we wrap up this part, let's step back for a moment. We've talked about the potential of blockchain, the transparency, the security,
It all sounds pretty amazing.
but like with any powerful technology, there can be unintended consequences.
Right. We can't just assume it'll all be sunshine and roses.
So here's a question for you. What are some potential downsides or risks we should be aware of? That's a great question and one we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
We've talked about the potential, the possibilities, but now it's time to get real about some potential downsides to blockchain.
Yeah, we gotta look at both sides of the coin, right? Responsible innovation and all that.
Exactly. So, no sugarcoating here. What are some of the big concerns experts have raised?
Well, one that comes up a lot is the environmental impact,
Oh, right. We touched on that earlier.
especially those proof-of-work blockchains like Bitcoin. Mining them, all that computing power uses a ton of energy.
So, not exactly eco-friendly.
Not ideal. It's a hot topic in the blockchain world for sure. But, there are alternatives being developed.
Like those proof-of-stake systems.
Yeah, those are designed to be much more efficient, so there's hope for a greener blockchain future.
Good to know. What about security? We talked about the blockchain itself being super secure.
But the systems around it, yeah, that's a different story.
So, where are the weak points?
Cryptocurrency exchanges, for one, where people buy and sell crypto, and digital wallets, where people store it. Those can be targets for hackers.
So it's like the blockchain itself is Fort Knox, but the doors are unlocked.
Kinda. And then, of course, there's the whole regulatory landscape. It's still the Wild West out there.
Governments haven't quite caught up yet.
Not really, and that uncertainty can make things tricky for businesses, for investors, everyone.
It sounds like we need some clear rules of the road.
Definitely, and that's going to take time. But it's important to remember with any new tech, there can be unintended consequences.
Right, we just don't know how it'll all play out in the long run.
Exactly. We can try to predict, but ultimately it's about being aware, staying informed.
And adapting as we go.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our blockchain deep dive, I want to leave you with this. What role do you think individuals should play in all this?
Ooh, good question.
Should we be actively involved in shaping this technology or leave it to the experts?
It's a big question and one we all need to think about as blockchain becomes more and more a part of our lives.
Because this is just the beginning. We've covered the basics, explored the potential, looked at the challenges, but the story is still being written.
And who knows, maybe you'll be part of writing the next chapter. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, stay curious.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of blockchain.
See you next time.